Hello, everyone. Oh, God, my voice broke immediately.
Really good start to this brand new venture that
Yes.
you're going for is broken voices immediately.
Welcome to... Welcome to the first video in what we're going to call We Miss Our Sleep.
Because we were up at night after watching a Creepcast video and about a lady who peers round corners and neither of us could sleep, which made us realise that we actually really like the no-sleep scary stories. So we've decided that we will absolutely not rip off their content at all.
We decided to forego our sleep so that we can do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we were looking through Reddit No Sleep. I say we, it was you who was looking through Reddit No Sleep, and you've chosen some delicious stories for us today.
Yeah, so I brought the first story for this because I think this would be a good beginner for us. And the title alone I think is pretty good, which most of you want to see it below. But this is called I Was in Prison for 15 Years and There Was a Skinwalker in There With Us.
Have you ever been to prison before?
No, I can't say I have.
Oh, neither have I.
Have you ever seen a skinwalker before?
Maybe.
Oh.
I've seen like a couple of suspicious looking goats.
So, do you know, I don't actually know too much about skinwalkers. I'm quite new into the cryptid style horrors.
I'm a bit of a veteran. That's the trouble with these sorts of things.
Okay, do you actually know what a skinwalker is?
Kind of. It's like an American folk story. I want to say from like the Appalachian region. And it's kind of like if you walk out in the woods at night and you hear someone going, "Help me," and it sounds like your mate, don't help them. Because it's either your mate in a bog and you're just going to get stuck in the bog, or it's a skinwalker trying to eat you.
Because I can remember I was like doom scrolling through TikTok and I was getting stages where it was people out on dog walks and they were hearing kind of like dog barking and then they were hearing weird screams, but it sounded off and people were being like, "Oh, no, they're skinwalkers, get away." But I didn't know if a skinwalker was similar to like a mimic or anything.
No, not really. Like a skinwalker is very much like I think the implication with a skinwalker is that they have destroyed the host and have either stolen their skin or have taken over their form. Whereas a mimic, there will be two of them.
Right.
That's
okay.
kind of the difference.
Okay.
I think. It is. They're not the same as doppelgangers, though. Doppelgangers
No.
are completely different.
I felt like they were worse than doppelgangers and at least like removed the host.
They're a little bit more lethal, I think. I think if there was like a scale of lethality, you would have skinwalkers as being pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't, if there was a tank of skinwalkers, you wouldn't put your hand in them.
Oh god, no.
Yeah. You might get really nastily bit. You might get a hand walker instead.
Yeah.
Take over your
what we
hand.
have now is the story of a man who was locked in with the prison with them. Should we get started?
Yeah. How do you want to do this?
How about I will read the first two paragraphs, then you take the next two.
I like that idea.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, no, because I've just seen how it goes.
No. I'm happy with that. You read.
We'll start with that, and then if there's any change we want to make down the line, we can do that.
Okay.
So, starting off with, I was in a prison for 15 years. There was a skinwalker in there with us. A little background first. I was serving a 15-year sentence in a penitentiary in southern Arizona. What I was in there for isn't important. Fuck. Right. We'll go back again. A little background first. I was serving a 50-year sentence in a penitentiary in southern Arizona. Do you know what? You take over.
Sorry.
I can't take the first line. It's too much.
It's fine. Okay. I was in prison for 15 years. There was a skinwalker in there with us. A little background first. I was serving a 15-year sentence in a penitentiary in southern Arizona. What I was in there for isn't important. During my stay there were countless things that happened that no one could explain, and even more that no one really wanted to know more about.
How do you get a 15-year prison sentence and then be like, it doesn't matter, unless it was something awful?
I don't know. Like as we've already established, neither of us have been in prison. I think I'm too anxious to go to prison. So I think, I can barely stand in my day-to-day life.
Officer, please, I couldn't have done the crime. I'm too anxious.
Please, officer. I would have 100% held my hands up and told you if I did it, but I'm too anxious.
What gets you 15 years?
Manslaughter?
Okay, so we'll go with the idea that this person has probably also killed someone.
Probably some slaughters.
Or they couldn't prove that they did it.
Manslaughters.
Alright, do you know what? I'll try the second paragraph.
You got it.
It all started with a prison legend, supposedly. Years ago, something awful and unexplainable happened in the prison. Every morning we'd be woken up and expected to stand near the front of our cells whilst guards...
Visually.
I was going to put visibly. While guards visually confirmed we were present and accounted for. Apparently, about a year before
You got it.
About a year before I got sent there, the most brutal and unexplainable thing had happened during one of those routines. A man who had a cell to himself looked very off during his check. When a guard pulled over another guard to help him check it out, they found it wasn't actually the prisoner they were expecting at all. It was a totally different man. This man was wearing the skin of the other man over him. Loosely fitting, draped over him. Apparently, looked like a real monster. The scariest things were, though, was the guy was wearing the skin was not an inmate. They had no idea how he'd even got into prison, let alone a cell. What's worse is that they couldn't even figure out who the hell he was. He wasn't documented anywhere, and what's worse than that, they never even found the body of the man who the skin he was wearing.
Then, okay, so we're thinking like fully grown man, 6 foot, medium build. So he's obviously killed like a slightly bigger guy. It's kind of like when there's a shark that's been bitten by a bigger shark, right? So this is a big guy, big skin.
I like the thought that the skinwalker broke in, heard the bell, saw everyone moving, like, oh, I guess I should also stand with them too.
I don't know if this is the skinwalker though, because skinwalkers aren't that obvious. This just sounds like this man knew where he needed to be, and after putting on someone else's skin, he was like, I probably should go to prison. Because I think he knew. I think he's got a good... I like this guy. He's got a good heart.
He's got the good heart, but he just doesn't understand the prison roll call yet.
Yeah, but I think he's misunderstood. I think he doesn't realise that you need to, get arrested, go to court, guilty, not guilty. I think he's just gone straight for the, I need to be in prison.
I'm getting the vibes of just being like, who the hell are you? And he's like, oh, no, nothing, boss. Don't you worry.
What? And as he
Why is your skin so loose?
Yeah. Oh, diet.
Don't look into it.
Okay. Pretty grisly stuff, I know, and I realise that's not the go-to definition of a skinwalker, but that's what the prison called him, the skinwalker. It didn't help that the guy never talked, apparently. Anyway, that's what started the whole skinwalker superstition around the yard. Apparently the guy got shipped to a different spot about a month after it happened, and just about everyone in the Gen Pop felt all the better for it. Sorry, that was my Senku
oh my God.
Popping out, being like, Gen?
I only know the term Gen Pop from Prison Break. So that's general population.
Oh!
That's the most I know prison lingo.
Not Gen.
No, not Gen.
Not Gen, okay. So from the Gen Pop, all the better for it. I heard the story about it on the second day of my stay. Hell of a story to hear on the place in your home for the foreseeable future. I think what we've learnt from this so far is that neither of us can read.
No, I'm so glad we decided to launch a channel and at this point a playlist on us reading.
On us being able to read. Do you want to take the next?
Yes.
bit?
Now, on to the real shit though. Sure, that... Now, you've heard all the beginning. You don't need to hear about my sentence. Here's the real shit. This guy.
This guy.
Now onto the real shit, though. Sure, the guy was the skinwalker, but all he did in the long run was get an older lifer Navajo inmate to tell everyone about actual skinwalkers. It seemed like a lot of the prison culture actually revolved around them.
Do you mean this?
I can keep going if you want.
Oh, yeah,
Do you know, I'll give it a go. This needs to teach me to read.
Uh-huh.
As it's the common thing on my channel that I can't read.
Yes.
Now, apparently, skinwalkers are tricky to point out on the spot. But if you can manage to survive around one for more than a minute or two, almost everyone can tell the mannerisms are all off. They can mimic human speech but not replicate it. They twitch manically. They have an unnatural gait while walking. But apparently they got better with experience. The old Navajo guy, his name was Carl, said that he was sure that there was an actual one among the prisoners. Slowly picking us off over the years, he called it the Grand Master Skinwalker at one point. Apparently he thought it had human mannerisms down so well that you might not even be able to tell if it was your cellmate for a day or two. It had to be good, he posited one night. He would expect a skinwalker to jump out any moment for a kill. But this one realised it had a revolving door of people to kill coming to it, and masterfully bided its time, as Carl thought for years.
Carl's a skinwalker.
So Carl's a skinwalker.
Carl's a skinwalker.
And he's trying to deflect it onto another person.
This
there.
sounds like your stereotypical kind of like, it's not me, guys. I promise.
No.
I'm just like you.
Carl, your skin's loose. I'm old.
I'm just an old man. These are wrinkles.
I am an old Navajo man.
And it will happen to you one day too.
And they'll call you skinwalkers. And how will you feel?
Yeah. It's not very inclusive of me and my baggy skin. Thank you. I've actually lost a lot of weight and I'm really proud of myself. myself. You need to be more inclusive. Thank you.
Guys, I've been on the prison diet and you're being really mean.
You're being really mean.
I'm going to go tell the guards that you called me a skinwalker.
Why do you have that? Never mind. A lot of guys found humour in it. A lot more were really on the edge about it. Every once in a while in a prison, people snap. Sometimes you'll find your cellmate swinging in front of your bunk, strung up by the neck by his pant leg. Sometimes you just can't take it anymore. But in our yard, people tended to snap in a very special way. It wouldn't be an outburst at dinner or a silent in the night. Guys would just stop talking, hunch over and shuffle around. Any friendships they had would mostly be out the window. They would turn into a loner during rec time, and they would let their hair hang in front of their face. Do you know what they're turning into?
This just sounds like the most emo prison I've ever heard.
It does, doesn't it? And they're turning into like the girls from The Grudge.
Honestly, so it's like, oh, okay, so in other prisons, people would murder each other and all that kind of stuff. In our prison, we got the silent treatment.
We got the silent treatment. Actually, I don't think we can even say these words, so we'll probably...
they'll be blocked out, don't worry.
Don't worry, we'll just... Or like the sewer slide or whatever they call them now.
Yeah, well, this is growing pains for us, so
Yeah.
we'll read it as is, and we'll block out parts,
Yeah.
and we'll see how it gets taken.
Yeah.
We'll go on to the next part.
Mm-hmm.
No one liked to talk about it. Like, if they did, it would happen to them next. I felt the same way. I didn't know if it was a skinwalker or just people going crazy, but I didn't want to find out. It wasn't clockwork or anything, but every time someone snapped in this way, it wasn't more than a couple of weeks before they were shipped off or transferred to God knows where without anyone else knowing beforehand.
Then there were the nighttime occurrences. Short, loud bursts of sound echoed through my cell block during all hours of the night on a regular basis. It sounded like a mix between pigs' dying squeals and nails on a chalkboard. Just another thing no one liked to talk about. Even scarier were the shadows and footsteps. The block was dimly illuminated in the night by a few lights hanging around from the ceiling outside the cells. I myself saw shadows flit across my walls on regular occasion, when there were definitely no guards near my cell. One time, near the end of my sentence, I woke up, looked at my back wall and found a perfect silhouette of a person standing there, but when I looked, my bunkmate was asleep, and no one was outside my cell.
In any prisons, not that I know experience or even visiting them, but anyone making noise during the night, surely guards would be on that.
It's staff shortages.
The staff shortage, sure, but even in this sense, it can... Oh no, he didn't say how long ago this was, that he was in prison for 15 years.
Yeah.
But you'd think at some stage, but anyone who's causing a ruckus at night, you'd think that they'd be going around there.
Maybe. I don't know.
Especially with the sounds like that, because if I was a guard in that prison and I was doing my like normal night sat at the computer and I heard pigs squealing, I'd be like, what the flying fuck was that?
Yeah, but thinking in mind as well, these are people who may have gone through a lot of trauma, and knowing what I know about it is that you kind of sometimes wake up and you're just talking and like loudly, or like you'll just be halfway through a conversation in your head and then you'll wake up in the night and you'll be like, oh, I wasn't. So maybe it's just like trauma.
Huh. Okay, what is the next part? Done the night time.
And the footsteps.
Okay. And the footsteps, everyone hated the fucking footsteps. They were the scariest part. In the night, sometimes, more rarely than the shadows, you would hear ungodly fast footsteps. My brain went to either Sonic's wind-up speed sprinting off or just... At night, I would hear the ballet dancers tapping.
I hear them at night. Dancing in their swan lake.
Is that you up there, John?
Carl. Carl, is that you?
Carl, this isn't funny. Carl, get down from the ceiling.
Carl.
Okay. You would hear ungodly fast footsteps. They sounded like wet feet slapping on tile floor.
Oh god, it's Donald Duck.
Whatever caused them would fly from one end of the block to the other in a dead sprint. Whatever it was inhumanly fast. If you happened to be awake before it started, by the time you heard the footsteps on one side of your cell and whipped your head round to see the thing run by, it sounded like it was 3 cells past you. Everyone hated the footsteps. I agreed. I thought they were the worst.
They sound absolutely hilarious.
They sound the funnest.
They sound like the best part of prison.
Carl's clearly doing something just to cheer them up. So he's Naruto running past the cells just
and
to make everyone feel better.
I back Carl for this. Like,
I don't know why
really...
he's wet his feet. Maybe it's the quickest way to dry off.
Do you reckon like there's actually just like a lot of water on the floor and he's wearing his socks, so he's just a bit slippy? Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I was released from that place about a month ago, and I have more stories than I can count. Well, this is what we're here for. Please tell us. I swear it was nearly my turn. About a week before I was discharged, my cellmate and a good friend of mine snapped. In the same kind of way. I didn't sleep for an entire week. Well, I did sleep, of course, but never for more than a few minutes at a time. Never turned my back on the guy. But you slept? Okay. The scariest thing? I woke up one night to him somehow snaking his body through the bars of our cell. For reference, I couldn't get anything past my shoulder through them. The worst part? He kept coming back into our cell. Is he doing like what dogs do at dog training? Like, you know, when they get the border collies and they go in and out of like the bars. Is that what he's doing with the bars?
I don't know if this is just me, but
this feels like a cartoon prison because I don't think they actually have bars anymore, do they?
This sounds quite over the top, and I think with the writing part, we've just heard the scariest thing, the worst part, the thing I hated the most.
Watching this guy do agility through these bars.
Thing.
And another thing. All right, I'm ready.
On the day of my release, I didn't say a word to him. Just left. He seemed fine with it. So was I. I had made it through. 15 years of prison fights, gang disputes for all I know, skinwalker abductions.
Whoops.
I left through the front gates, a free man. As I walked along the fence for the rec yard, I spotted my cellmate standing off on his own, like he had for the last week or so. I shook my head, not even really sure if it was him anymore. I took one last look over the yard, this time from the other side of the fence. I wish I hadn't.
There, standing off on his own, on the other side of the yard, was Carl, slouched over, eyeing the other inmates and twitching maniacally.
Okay, so it was Carl.
It was Carl!
So, you know, prejudice does seem correct in some instances.
But just like, do you get the spooks?
No.
No?
I think by the fourth paragraph, when there was, I kind of believed the story where it's like, okay, so we spoke to Carl, who we was convinced was the skinwalker, and he was like, no, there is a skinwalker in here, but it's not me.
No.
The one over there is clearly the Grandmaster Skinwalker. And then because of that, it seemed to be this kind of seed of doubt of being like, oh, where was it?
Do you know what I think would have improved this story massively?
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be if there was multiple characters chosen, like named characters, because as soon as you give a character a name, you know they're important. So the only named character, we don't even know what the protagonist's name is.
Yeah, it was just, I was in prison for this period, doing this amount, and that was that. The only named person was Carl, who turns out to be the Skinwalker.
So obviously the Skinwalker. I don't feel like, I think if I was 12, I probably wouldn't be able to sleep. But the idea of just the cellmate, like, I can't possibly turn my back on him, but I'll happily be vulnerable and sleep in front of this guy. And then when I wake up, he's doing dog agility for crufts through the bars of the jail cell.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like that doesn't do it for me, unfortunately.
Something I also wish within the story is that at the very beginning we had it where they did the roll call, and it was almost clear that this thing was wearing someone else's skin and we didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
I had wished it'd been like, as the months went on, prisoners started to disappear and guards had put us on big lockdown, to be like, we're convinced these prisoners are escaping, we can't find their body. And they just seem to be disappearing.
Or like, if there really was like a Skinwalker outbreak, like there would be, I don't know, because the whole point with Skinwalkers is that you don't notice that you're not supposed to notice that they're there until it's too late. So really, if it was like one of those, because it depends also the type of prison. Again, I've not been to prison, but I know you can get the ones that are like 23, 24, whatever.
Yeah.
So like you spend like 1 hour a day out. So then there's going to be like a guy who just keeps moving cells, and it's just the infection passing on and on. Well, it's not infection, is it? It's the creature passing on and on and on.
I like the concept of this, of you've got a Skinwalker who in most... I think from most like folklore stories that I hear from them, it's they're always off in the distance and you never actually see them, you hear them.
Yeah.
Whereas you're now in close proximity, which means you have to see them.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. I just wish that there was more instances of it, because it was just like, there was this one guy who we'll call Carl, who knew a lot about skinwalkers, looked like a skinwalker.
Walked like a skinwalker.
Yeah, convinced us he wasn't, and turns out it was.
Yeah, and I like the idea of, like, they're right, like in prison, like a skinwalker is like at a barbecue, like there's so much dinner that he can't contain himself. But that also means then surely that if there's this much dinner, you wouldn't eat as fast. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think also you don't have to tell us that you were scared. We should be able to tell you're scared through the writing and what your character's POV is. Coming from someone that's only ever published one thing in one tiny magazine. And
from someone else who can't read.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was, like, if I was younger, I think this would freak me the heck out.
I feel like this story has got a lot of legs, and I think this could definitely be something that'd be really good in the future. I think it just needs a bit more to it.
Yeah.
If we was to rate this out of 10...
Well, we have to have, like, a scale of, like...
As it's the first, I feel like
we need to set a scale up. Like,
so my bit is, I think I'm kind of indifferent to this story. So it's one I think could be good, but there's also a lot of stuff that could be added onto it more. So I would probably give this a generous 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. 6 skinwalkers out of 10.
6 possible skinwalkers to add.
Yeah, 6 prisoners out of 10.
I think for me it's because the premise of it's good. I think some of the individual parts that happened in there, like them talking about how some of the stuff in the prison, that they were hearing, sounds it made, all of that definitely eerie and creepy. I wish it had more of that. And on top of it, I also wish that it had more people that it infected, and maybe a subplot of prisoners kept disappearing. I kind of knew what was happening and I was trying to get away, but people didn't believe.
Yeah. Well, like, that's the thing. I think for me, it didn't blow my socks off. So I'm going to give it a generous 4 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
I need to be spooked. That's what I need. I need to be chilled to my bone.
But, you know, I think this was a really good first one for us to do.
Yeah, I think it was good. I think it demonstrated that although we definitely have an English GCSE, neither of us can read, which is a good start. Yeah, I thought that was really, really fun.
Cool. Okay, so that was... I was in a prison for 15 years, and there was a skinwalker in there with us.
Aww.
Thanks to everyone who has listened in and heard us rambling. If there are any stories that you wish for us to read, please do let us know in the comments below.
Yeah.
And yeah, any comments, questions or concerns, please leave them for us.
But we will not respond to any comments, questions or concerns. Please leave your issues at the door.
If you say something nice, we will reply.
Maybe. And if you say something nasty, we're going to cry about it and maybe start slouching in the corner and twitch maniacally whilst we get there.
Thank you all again, and we'll see you at the next one.